The crash of a Boeing 737-800 jet in Iran remains a mystery right now. The cause is unclear, with a variety of conflicting reports from technical failure to an engine fire. And Tehran has signaled that it will not turn over the black box flight recorders to the U.S. or to Boeing. For more on what we can expect in the crash investigation and what investigators would like to know, let's welcome Greg Feith. He is former investigator with the National Transportation Safety Board, also our own LeBeau. Greg, let's start with you on this. As a former investigator yourself, obviously we don't have many details, but what do you think of what you know so far? What are you reading to try and determine what potentially happened?
There's a lot of speculation out there, of course. There's a lot of information that came out within minutes, if not hours, of this event, talking about engine failures, engine fires, a variety of different things, which no one, even the most trained investigator, could ever come up with. And I think that with this rampant speculation, of course, they're building a storyline over there to try and cover up maybe something else that's going on. So for investigators, the key here is to step back and actually do an investigative process and look for not only problems with the aircraft, but things that may have occurred outside the aircraft. And in this case, because it was a conflict zone, the airplane was flying in an area where there were missiles that had been launched. You always have to include looking at the external part. That is, was this aircraft hit by a missile? Was there an onboard device? Was there terrorism? You cannot come out within hours and say that all of these things are off the table and that it is a pure mechanical malfunction.
With the reports suggesting that Tehran will not give the black box recorders to either Boeing or to the United States, does that concern you about the idea of an independent investigation?
I think the independence of this investigation really then moves to a transparent investigation. The flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder are going to provide a lot of information to investigators. And with that in mind, it's the fidelity of the data. It's one thing to download the data, but if you don't know how to do it, or you don't do it completely, or you filter that data, all of a sudden now the storyline could change. And in this particular instance, I understand why they may not come to the United States and Boeing, but they may need the United States and Boeing at some point to help them, especially if these boxes are damaged. There are other organizations around the world that can read these boxes out over in the UK, France, Canada, places like that, even Russia. But the fact is if there's any kind of damage to these boxes, they're going to need the assistance of the NTSB and Boeing.
Phil?
Greg, I'd be curious from your perspective, because I've talked with a number of former crash investigators, folks who specialize in this like you do. What you saw in the limited video, and I know that the video is very limited, of basically a fireball as it comes down to the ground, does that look consistent with anything that you've ever seen or have studied in the past when it comes to an engine failure or some type of mechanical issue on a plane that has crashed?
You bring up a good point, and that is, of course, we do have video. It is very crude video. It does show a fireball coming down, which is apparently the aftermath of some event. So the video itself just shows the result of whatever took place in flight. The key now is to determine whether or not that was a mechanical malfunction that may have caused that level of destruction in the air, similar to that of TW-800, or is there other evidence, whether it's off the cockpit voice recorder, the flight data recorder, or the external evidence that is wreckage? I've seen pictures. There looks to be evidence similar to the evidence of MH17, the shoot down where there was a missile that exploded. There is evidence of that just in the pictures I've seen. So it's going to be very important for investigators to carefully go over all of those pieces. When you look at the size of the debris field and the fact that there is no main impact crater, it suggests that something happened in flight. It was very catastrophic. And an engine failure, just a benign engine failure, will not do that to an aircraft like that.